There's a moment in the book of Acts that stops me every time I read it. A man is reading the scriptures out loud, but admits that he doesn't understand it. And there's a lesson for modern churches here. The story takes place in Acts chapter 8 after Jesus already went back to heaven. Philip, who was one of Jesus' disciples, was going from village to village preaching when Jesus commanded him to change directions and go south. On the road, he saw an Ethiopian official in a chariot. He had been worshiping in Jerusalem and was on his way home. The Holy Spirit urged Philip to run up to the chariot, and when he did, he overheard that the official had been reading from the book of Isaiah, a book of prophecies from the Old Testament. Philip asks him if he understands the prophecies he's reading, and the Ethiopian replies, "How can I unless someone explains it to me?" Then he invites Philip onto the chariot to sit with him. Philip uses that passage in Isaiah to explain the gospel message, and the Ethiopian man was baptized and saved right then and there. Notice again what the Ethiopian man said. "How can I unless someone explains it to me?" Isn't that a humble way of looking at the scriptures? When was the last time you were reading the Bible and you thought to yourself, "I'm not sure I understand this. I might need some insight here"? Asking a question like that shows you're reading the passage with humility. You don't assume that you know what every verse means from the beginning, or you already know what kind of situations the passage is written for. Reading with questions instead of assumptions means you're taking the Bible seriously. You're showing that you believe it is written by God, and that the wisdom He is speaking to you has the power to change your life. Let me give you a tool that makes it easier for you to read the Bible in humility. This tool will help you put your assumptions aside and look for insight. It's a way of analyzing literature called authority and intent. Of course, there are human authors of the Bible, but there's also the divine author, God. If you want to read the Bible with humility, you have to ask yourself what God was meaning to communicate when He included this in His Word, not just what your opinion on the passage is. This is exactly what Philip did when he spoke to the Ethiopian official. See, the passage that the official was reading was from Isaiah 53. The verse talks about someone who hasn't done anything wrong, but is led to be slaughtered. If you take that passage by itself, you'll be just as confused as the official was. But when you put it in the context of the whole meaning of the Bible, the meaning God is putting together, book by book, then it makes sense. It's describing Jesus and how He was innocent, but He took the penalty for us. There's another tool in which God gives us to help us understand the scriptures, but this one's actually not a tool, it's the Holy Spirit. If you read that passage in Acts chapter 8, you'll see that the Holy Spirit guides Philip the entire time. And we have that same Spirit to guide us. In John chapter 14, Jesus says, "These things I have spoken to you while I'm still with you. But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, He will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you." Jesus promises that He's going to send a helper to teach us. The author of the story is ultimately the one who's going to tell us what it means. So rather than reading tons of chapters at once, maybe it's best to read small passages and really take some time to pray and meditate on them. This is exactly what the modern church needs to hear. Don't assume you know everything about the Bible when you're reading it. Read it with humility, and like the Ethiopian, ask yourself, "How can I unless someone explains it to me?" Slow down when you're reading the scriptures and pray and ask the Holy Spirit for wisdom. James chapter 1 says that God gives generously to all who ask for wisdom. If you want some tips about how to read the Bible more carefully, I actually made an entire video on it, so here's the link right here. And until next time, thank you for watching.